Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm right here in my patio where I keep a few of my reptiles, mostly the iguanas and the basilisk. Today I want to talk about the diet and how to actually meal prep for omnivores and for herbivores, which sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions and confusions when it comes to what to feed and what not to feed. So yeah, we're gonna be prepping full meal for iguanas. I'm gonna be talking about different ingredients and different things that I use on the daily and that I use every so often, to give you guys any options, you know, so you know exactly what you can feed and what you can't really feed, and give the variety to your animals so they don't get stuck with the same thing every single day, because sometimes they can get bored. The very first thing I want to talk about are ingredients, what you can feed versus what you cannot feed at all. I mean, a lot of the ingredients that you can't really feed, it's not that it's going to instantly kill your animal or anything like that. It's not specifically toxic to them, but it's preferable for certain reasons long term not to feed these things. I mean, I'm talking about the differences between greens and what greens you can feed and not feed. If we start with like the basic, you know, lettuce and like romaine lettuce and stuff like that, the iceberg, the romaine, anything like that that's just lettuce, we're talking about just water, really. And even though it's a good form of, you know, hydration for them, it doesn't really have any nutrients per se. So I usually do incorporate it in my animals diet, but I just add it to other things, greens like the shredded collard greens that you can find in Walmart or anything like that, in any sort of store. There's mustard greens, and then there's like dandelion greens, and I mean, there are a lot of things that you could go for to stay away from the lettuce. And if you want, you can just like mix them both together, just like I do, just to give it a little bit more variety and a little bit more like hydration, like I said. Other than that, the main elements that you really want to stay away from would be like cabbage, for example, or broccoli, or heavy things like kale, stuff like that, that in long term is going to affect the animal, especially with iguanas. So other things, when it comes to anything else that you can actually feed, most people, when they come into the shop that I work through, and they ask me, you know, what can I feed to my animal to give it some variety? I don't know, he doesn't like, he's not going for the collard greens, or he's not going purely for like the lettuce that I'm feeding it or anything like that. I always say you can always decorate the plate with different things for them to try. So if you want a little bit more variety, I'll say things like peppers, like bell peppers. You can do green, red, yellow, anything like that would work. Just shred it into pieces, cut it up as you will want. It's good for them, they like the taste, most of them do. It has a lot of nutrition for them. Things like zucchini as well works. You can do this to tortoises, iguanas, bearded dragons, anything like that. Just think of it as lettuce, just add it up, but it's only going to be a really like a thing of like hydration rather than nutrition. It doesn't have too many nutrients. It's mostly just water. And I mean, there are many other things that I don't have here right now, but things like sweet potatoes and anything like that is great. Most iguanas, especially cyclurus, love sweet potatoes. Green iguanas, not so much. It really depends how often you try feeding it. I have some green iguanas that go for it and eat it, and I have some others that don't touch it and have never touched it, and they don't really care for it, and that's fine. I just already know, so I might as well just not put it there to not waste food. But yeah, that's a good option, the way to just prep it. I mean, you can do like the little cubes or whatever. The easiest thing would be to just grab the whole sweet potato and put it in the microwave for about 5 minutes. And then once you take it out, obviously be careful because it's going to be extremely hot. Just cut it up in pieces, take everything out, and that will become sort of like a puree type of thing, and make like a smashed potatoes, but with sweet potatoes, and just let it cool a bit, and just feed it with the regular diet, or just aside like a little treat or something, and they're really gonna like that. The other thing would be when it comes to sugars. A lot of people have a thing with fruits, especially with bearded dragons. We have a lot of controversy when it comes to feeding them fruits, and it's it's a complicated topic because you gotta think of these animals as some sort of like a keto diet, where the sugar has to be almost non-existent, but you can offer sugar because they will take sugar in the wild as well as they should in captivity. But you do gotta be careful with the type of sugars that you're feeding. You don't want to feed anything that's too sugary. So I usually stick with berries. Talking about cutting strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, and cranberries as well. It doesn't have as much sugar. It's good for them, and they love it. I mean, they go for it. When I feed my iguanas, I always top it with a little bit of any of those, and that's obviously the first thing they're gonna go for. They already know that anything red is just sugar, and so they love it. I mean, it's kind of like a good thing, because then when I feed something like this, they usually go for this first, and it doesn't have any sugar, but because it is that, color sort of guidance towards the fruit. The other thing that you can feed that's like a good fruit that's not too sugary but still good would be like tomatoes. I usually use cherry tomatoes because I find it easier just to cut them in half rather than grabbing a big tomato and just cut it into little pieces. Lucy, my cyclura, usually she takes she can sit down and take an entire box and it will be no problem. So I try to, give her maybe 3 that I cut in half, so that's 6 pieces that she's eating, and she's thinking that she's eating a lot, but in reality, I mean, she's only eating 3 pieces. So, when it comes to iguanas and stuff like that, you kind of have to mind trick them into eating different things or into not eating too much of a certain thing. With bearded dragons, they will, most of the time, there are a lot of bearded dragons that just don't really like anything. They will take anything you put on the plate, and that is a great thing. It's a great sign for animals, so it's easy for you to just put whatever's good for them in the plate, and they will just do the job of just eating it. But with iguanas, you sometimes gotta be a little bit tricky, know what to eat, what to feed, what not to feed, how to kind of disguise food and stuff like that. The other thing we're gonna talk about is that when it comes to cycluras and Tinosaurus iguanas as well. So the, cycluras, let's say rhino iguanas, blue iguanas, rock iguanas, the Lewisite hybrid, which is what Lucy is, and then the Tinosaurus, which are simply the spiny tail iguanas. They are omnivores, so they do need a little bit of protein every so often. It is good for them and for their body because they're especially the cycluras are very heavily bodied iguanas, and even though they don't grow as big as the green iguanas, they're way heavier. So it is important that you offer that protein for them to take it. So the simplest thing that I use for my cyclura is any sort of raw meat that is not too processed. So in here I have cat food, which is the cat food that is like a chicken pate. I usually do that. I do raw salmon sometimes. I do ground turkey as well. You don't want something that has a lot of oils or anything like that. So I would say try to get a meat that is a little bit dry and put some natural oils in it, like cod liver oil. It's great for them. Just mix it in and it makes it a little bit more moist, and they adore that. The other thing for Cenosaurus especially is are just simply worms. Just superworms, mealworms, roaches, anything like that, crickets. It is important that they get protein, and even though, they can eat the much heavier meats and proteins like the salmon and stuff like that, it is not really good for them, being them much, smaller bodied than the cyclura. So I usually stick to feeding them worms, as well as I feed worms sometimes to the cyclura as well. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is simply just prepare the table for everything, and I'm going to start cutting everything into pieces, putting it into a big bowl like I always do, and then I'm going to divide it into all the different plates for the animals. Even though I'm not going to use all of these, because I just brought it to just give some advices and examples of what you can use. So at this point I have most of the things done. I mean, just the shredded collard greens, I shredded some lettuce, I put some tomatoes in it, I put a lot of peppers, which you can't really see because they're green. There's a lot of that stuff too in here. Okay, so at this point, this is almost done for most of the herbivores. The next step that I really want to talk about is obviously adding vitamins and calcium powders. You can use really like any type or anything like that that comes into the store. The Sumed is definitely what I prefer, just because it has the vitamins and the calcium included into one single powder. Obviously with D3, you got to make sure that you got D3 on it, because this is definitely something that any diurnal animal is going to need. So since this is already a little bit moist and damp, it is really easy to just, sprinkle some of this stuff like that. If you're working with anything that's a little bit more dry, you can just spray it a little bit with water, and then you're just simply gonna mix it in with the rest of the stuff. So they're not, they're not just like basically licking powder, because a lot of people use that technique, especially with like leopard geckos and nocturnal animals like that. And I mean, that's fine, but let's be honest, you're not gonna just find a little cap with the vitamins in it in the wild. It's just not the way it is. They usually lick rocks and stuff like that, so I understand, but this is much easier for me and for them as well to just eat it all at once. The other thing I want to talk about is that I do have a baby sulcata tortoise. So another thing I'm going to add to her plate are little sliced pieces of prickly pear cactus. It is great for them to eat it. It has a lot of not only nutrition, it's also great for hydration, especially them, since they're desert tortoises. This is something that they're used to, getting hydration from eating cacti. This is obviously the safest and best cacti that there is to actually feed an animal, so that's why I do that. So as it is, I'm just dividing things into different dishes and everything. There is one more step, which is why I divide right here for every single one of them, but not, they're different ingredients, so that's why I just pretty much divided at this point. Put some more tomatoes here. Okay, so at this point, I have everything divided. And what I'm gonna do is that for the green iguanas, I'm gonna use some blueberries. Just gonna sprinkle a few at the top. No big deal. Yeah. Other than that, I'm gonna grab the prickly pear for the tortoise. Sprinkle that at the top too. It's a little slimy, obviously. Then we're gonna keep going with the bearded dragons. I'm gonna take a little bit of this, give them more because they eat a lot. I am gonna feed some superworms in here. They love those things. Alright, and I'm going to take the time that I have this open and just throw a few of these in here. It's a great way to give them some sort of food and hydration at the same time, and believe me, they devour this in like 30 minutes. Alright. And then the last step, obviously for Lucy, being a Ciclura, a Lewisii hybrid, we are gonna give her some of these. Put the pate in Lucy's food, and now I'm just gonna distribute the food to everybody. And we're gonna go inside, and I will show you guys how afterwards, everything looks. Alright, so here's where I keep my baby sulcata. I gotta change this water, clean this up. Usually I do cleanings tomorrow, which is Monday, and Wednesdays and Fridays, and the weekend I usually don't, because this is where I'm the most busy. So I try to keep that same schedule even during the quarantine, just to keep myself, a little bit away from going insane, really. So I'm gonna put some more water there. I'm gonna have her food. Here she is, little one. Usually I have it here on the side. She's usually much closer to the sunlight during the day because it's been raining a lot, so I really don't want any rain or anything to just hit the mat or anything like that. That's a simple setup. I mean, there's not much you can do at that age. You just gotta keep them contained so they don't roam around and everything. And then once she's much bigger, then she'd go outside into the actual patio with the bigger, space and grass and all that stuff. Yep. We got some Xanthics iguanas over there. Beautiful male and female. Yeah, they're really beautiful. They've been with me probably about a week before this whole quarantine started, so I'll say they've been with me for a little bit over a month. And they're adapting pretty well. I mean, they still get a bit nervous, but not as much as the red iguanas. Here I have my red iguanas. Like I said, they're a little bit more nervous, especially the male. He really doesn't like people at the moment. I mean, I kind of understand because right now I have him in this smaller space than, let's say, the blue iguanas over there have. So, you know, it's a slow process. I mean, as soon as this whole quarantine is over and everything, they're gonna move into the actual big enclosures, something like an iguanarium, something a little bit bigger, giving them some time to grow. We got the male over there bobbing his head a little bit, showing the crest. He really doesn't like people, like I said. We got the female up here. Obviously, her, she's a little bit more easygoing, but with him being so stressed out and showing such a defensive, you know, behavior, she's gonna react that way towards that. I do need to clean this up because, like I said, it's been raining a lot nowadays in South Florida, so the water from yesterday to today just looks putrid, basically, and it's just all rainwater that caught there. And I mean, that's fine. I clean it every day anyways, so that's okay. But you know, I just do keep this here so they can get sunlight, get shade, and then also cover away from the rain and stuff like that. So he's working through it, but you know, he's very defensive, and that's okay. That's normal of male green iguanas. I don't mind it. He's a little bit big, so it's hard to work with him, but it will be a slow process. I don't know if any of you own iguanas, but iguanas is just a mental game to get, you know, on their good side. So here are my babies. These are fully green iguanas. Both also male and female being there, male being on the top. These are Jade and Goblin. So we're here at the last stop. This is the living room. This is where the princess is at. So this is my Seclura. I keep her in the living room because everybody loves her and everybody wants to spend time with her. This is Lucy. This is who's in my shirt. I love her. And she is a fatty for food. She eats every day, huge dishes, and she still gets excited like she hasn't eaten in 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. There it is, already munching on food. I have a little thing here to hold the dish. Yeah, I mean, she's gorgeous. The most gorgeous and intelligent animal that I owned, aside from my dog. She's just magnificent. She has her little house over there, which I figured out because I put it all the way at the bottom when I was first introducing her to this house. She never went down there. She was always here at the hammock. She slept in the hammock, and I'm like, I bought you a house for a reason. So yeah, so I kind of just pull it up there, hung it from the top, and all this stuff, and just, you know, redefine everything a little bit so it looks better. It's closest from here. Has lock-ins here, lock-ins at the bottom. This also opens. I usually leave it open during the day, put the dog inside, have her come out, walk around the house and everything. And then when she's ready, she walks right in and I just close it back again. I have a UVV here at the top that sits, just for her to get a lot of those rays, since sadly she's not outside because, you know, different reasons and stuff like that, mostly space. I also keep a power sun, which is basically heat and UVV incorporated into a single bulb. These are a little bit expensive, but they're worth every cent that you pay for it. And here we have another bulb. Basically doesn't have any sort of heating or anything. It's just a ceramic bulb. This stays on during the day and during the night because it gets a little cold in here, so it just warms up that whole area, so I can turn all of the lights and she'll still be warm. Look at you, mama. Oh yeah. As you can see, she loves the pate and she loves the fruits. She loves everything. Like seriously, it gets to a point that you can put your finger in there and she'll try to munch on it. But she's really not aggressive or anything like that. She's a sweetheart. She's very used to everybody, to the dogs and everything. I usually put the dogs away so I don't have to be looking for them and stuff, you know, and like actually watching them and just let her do her thing. But when I have a dog out, they're fine with each other. I just like to reduce any risk at all, you know. Say bye, mama. Anyway, so here we are at the end of the video. Like and subscribe and comment and let me know what else you guys would like to see. I'm probably gonna be doing a lot of more videos just by the simple fact that I'm stuck here at my house during quarantine and I actually have time. I'm not working in a reptile shop the entire time, which is awesome. I mean, I do miss all of the 300 animals that I work with every day, but it's awesome that I can spend some time here as well because they do deserve it. And I used to be, you know, waking up 5 in the morning just to do my entire routine, cleaning everything every single day. It got a little exhausting, and then coming back home around like 8 and then just, you know, trying to play with them a little bit and stuff. It was not working out too well, but it was working out. But now I got a lot of time in my hands, so I'm doing a lot of DIY projects. I'm doing a lot of things that I'm just moving things around and stuff like that. In future videos, I'll be talking about more animals that I have. For example, little Maxine right here, my New Guinea frilled dragon. She's beautiful, gorgeous. She looks just like that when she's mad, which is almost never. So I'll see you guys, I don't know when. I'm not keeping a schedule on this. Maybe I'll make into a schedule depending on how many people actually interact with the whole video and how many people actually like it, but you'll be seeing my face more often, that's for sure. If you want any merch or anything like that, I do have a lot of merch on my Teespring page, and I do a lot of cool designs. This one is Lucy. This is probably the only one that I have right now that is custom to my animals. The other designs are a little bit more towards just any regular like reptile keepers and animal lover enthusiasts and stuff like that. So they got a lot of cool designs. You can just look them up and see. I'm going to be making a lot of more designs. I'm always drawing and doing new things. So you'll always be seeing new things about that. Alright? So you guys take care. Stay safe during the quarantine.